Hello, hello! My name is Shalana Battles. I am indie author of 3 books, The Man Before You, Soul Jumper, and Encampment, all of which you can find on Amazon and anywhere else you normally buy books. I am sitting down for the first time since 2021 to make a YouTube video. And so this is my first video on YouTube in 3 years, that's just crazy to me. I sat down a few days ago and I watched my goal video from 2021 that I had posted on my YouTube video. And so this video is going to kind of be reflecting on that, and also talking about my new goals and like where I plan to go. And so I've been off YouTube, obviously, but I've still been doing things, not as many as I would like, but I've still been doing things, and I still have a lot of plans in the future for continuing with writing and publishing and editing. And so I wanted to talk about those today and kind of kick off returning to YouTube and kick off returning to authoring full-time. And so let's dive into it. I published my first book in 2020. If you're new here, or it's been a while, you know, reintroduce everything. And so that book was Soul Jumper, and my son was 2 years old. And the reason that that's important is because I want to preface this video with saying, like, I am once again in a place in my life where I'm waking up from the postpartum fever dream. And it is a very real thing. And if you had kids, you know, and if you don't have kids and you want them, best of luck to you. But seriously, the first 1.5 to 2 years after you have a baby is insanity. It's insanity. Your hormones are all over the place. Your routine is non-existent. And I'm sure there's tons of mothers who do it better than me, and that's great. But I struggled a lot after I had my son, until he was about 2 years old, and after I had my daughter, and she is about to be 2 in a few days. And you kind of just wake up one day and feel like yourself again. But it takes a long time to get to that place. About a year in, you start kind of saying like, oh, okay, I'm a person. And finding bits and pieces of yourself, but your baby at 1 is still so dependent on you that you're not fully there yet. And that's my biggest piece of advice for mothers watching this who also want to be an indie author or own their own small business or whatever it is just prepare for that. And even saying it, you can't prepare for it. But I guess it's less prepare for it and more forgive yourself for it. Because it's okay to struggle, and it's normal to struggle during those first couple years of being a mom, because they're hard. They're really hard, and you're changing so much, and your family dynamic is changing so much, and if you have a partner, that dynamic is changing, and you have so much more on your plate than you ever could have dreamed up when you have children. And so just be easy on yourself and give yourself some grace and give yourself some leeway when you're navigating being somebody who is pursuing their goals while also being a mom, because it's tough. And I don't think it's talked about enough, and so that's why I wanted to bring it up in this video, is because it affects so much, and I just don't think that it is acknowledged as much as it should be. And so I did not give up on my author goals and my dreams in writing and publishing and editing, and I just became a mom again. And so my world got shook all up again, and so we're kind of back at square one when it comes to goals. But I'm feeling very much like myself and very motivated and very productive and it's come at a great time. I had my kids in January, both of them, and so I also get to combine that with this whole, like, it's a new year and it's a fresh start, and like feeling like myself again at this 2-year mark after having my daughter. And so it's all full circle, and I am loving that. I don't plan to have more kids. I'm a never say never type of girl, but that is not in the plan, and I think that's great for me. I think it's great for my kids. I can focus on the 2 wonderful, amazing, beautiful, extremely smart children that I have, and also focus on growing my business and moving forward in all of the things that I have planned as an individual, and my husband and I have planned together as far as like business goals and things like that. And so I really do think 2024 is going to be that pivotal moment for us and for our family, because we're at this place of, I'm out of that postpartum fog, and I don't plan to revisit postpartumness or pregnancy or any of that again. And so I think this is kind of a really interesting place for us to start the year, and I'm excited about it. So looking back at my 2021 goal video, this is what I think about it 3 years later, and I'm gonna try to get through this fairly quickly. If it gets too long, I'll break this video up into 2 parts, but I wanted to talk about that version of myself in 2021 and kind of what happened, what didn't happen, and what I'm gonna keep, what I'm gonna throw out, what I've learned, kind of that type of thing, and then talk about some of these new developments and goals moving forward. And so the first thing I noticed watching that video was that I did jump right in to self-publishing. And if you were there for that, you remember it. I was querying Soul Jumper, my first book, and then very like rushly decided to self-publish. And I did that for a lot of reasons. I wanted to have more control. I didn't want to wait. I wasn't patient. I was like, my book's done. I want it out there. Like, I'm not trying to wait on agents. But also this was kind of, COVID was happening at the same time. I was supposed to go to this writers conference in Seattle, and then that got moved to online because of COVID. So that time in my life and in the world in general was just nuts. And so I decided to self-publish, and it was a great decision for me. I don't regret it for a second. But looking back on 2021 me made me realize that I moved so quickly into that I almost knew nothing about it. And so these last 3 years, I have spent a lot of time researching and reading about it and following other indie authors and watching them and looking at their websites. So I've spent a lot of these last 3 years just researching the industry. And a lot of people do that ahead of time, right? They don't do it backwards like I did. They research everything and they plan and they prepare for that and then publish their book. I published my book and then decided I'm going to figure out self-publishing. And so I think that's been a really big like part of my process. And in getting, I've published 3 books since then, since I started in 2020, and I think that that's awesome. But I wanted to be publishing more, and I just think it was like that learning curve for me, and so that was an interesting thing to look back on. Number 2, I still have 0 plans to query any books, and so I'm finishing the spin-off series of The Man Before You. It's a 4-book series, and the reason that's taken so long is because I didn't want to release like 1 book and then have to have somebody wait for the second one and wait for the third one and wait for the 4th one. So I have tackled this project in a way that I can either release all 4 books at once or rapid release them. So like you're getting a book every 2 weeks or a week, whatever. Haven't really decided yet, but that's why it's taken so long, is because I'm in the process of completing and editing and publishing all 4 books. And so that's a huge goal for me, but I don't plan to query those. I plan to stick with self-publishing, and I have some other book ideas that I'm so excited about that is like very frustrating for me because I want to work on those, and I'm like, no, Shalana, you have to finish this series. But I'm excited. I don't plan to query those either. So no querying plans for me in the future. I've really enjoyed publishing on my own and kind of working with cover designers and editors, and I've built good relationships with people. And I see these other indie authors that I aspire to be like, and I just feel like that's my path and that's my journey. And so I did query Soul Jumper. If it's something you're considering, I can answer what little questions I can. Excuse me. But mostly if you're considering self-publishing and you have questions, please reach out to me. I would love to help you. Number 3, I mentioned in that video sticking to a posting schedule. This is still obviously very, very relevant. I need to stick to a posting schedule, and I have proven time and time again that it is constantly difficult for me to do that. And it's a struggle. It's a battle for me every single day, and I hate to pull the ADHD card, but that's a big part of it, is just like focus and time management and organization and all of these things that I know I'm capable of, but my brain going 100 miles a minute all the time and getting very, very easily distracted is a huge issue. And so I'm kind of changing up how I schedule things and how I do things, thinking about this more as like a job and clocking in and clocking out. I'm gonna see if that works for me, having harder deadlines. If you want me to go into details about that, or you're trying to like help yourself be more consistent, let me know in the comments. I can dive into that more. But the point is, 2021 Shalana needed to be consistent. 2024 Shalana needs to be consistent. Okay, life is always happening. I'm kind of reading my notes from when I watched that video. So we've moved multiple times. We've had kids in the past 3 years, pets and travel. We've started a business, me and my husband separate from this business. But I have to stop using those things as a reason not to write. I've watched a lot of my stuff saying, all of these things are happening, and all of these things are happening, and they're always happening, but I still have to write. And so that was kind of an eye-opening thing for me too. And I'm saying it here to hold myself accountable. Those things are always going to happen. I'm always going to have this very chaotic life with my kids and how busy we are and how much we travel and how spontaneous me and my husband are, especially him. He's totally like, we're going here, we're doing this, we're going, and I'm like, okay, and I'm along for the ride a lot of the time, which is great, and I love that so much about him because we've got to do a lot of really cool things together. And one of those cool things was he decided to start a trash business this, like, what has it been, 6 months ago or something. And so that's a whole separate business that we own together, and I do all of the like office part of that. I send people contracts, I take all the payments, blah blah blah. And so that's a whole nother layer of our life, but it's like you still have to write, you still have to prioritize writing. And I love JF Penn so much because she always talks about like showing up. Make an appointment with yourself, show up, write the words. And she always talks about like, how bad do you want it? And what are you willing to sacrifice to get it? And that is my mindset going into 2024. Is just, how bad do I want this? What am I willing to sacrifice to get it? You know, for me, that's probably going to look like reading a lot less and writing way more. And that is okay. I can live with that sacrifice. And so that's something that I'm really looking forward to seeing, that kind of change this next year. In 2021, I had the goal of publishing 4 books. I published 2 books in 2021. So I published Soul Jumper in 2020, The Man Before You and Encampment in 2021, and I have not published since. So I did not publish anything in 22 or 23, which is depressing. However, I do plan to publish in 2024, and I've got some pretty cool plans for that I'm excited about. But I think that also kind of goes to show what I was saying at the beginning of this video. I published those books in 2021 I had my daughter in 2022 and haven't published since. And she's about to be 2 years old. And so that's what I mean when I'm saying, like, give yourself grace. Don't give yourself excuses. Don't just miss deadlines to miss deadlines. But if you're doing this as a mother, take that into account when you are planning a publishing schedule. With that being said, this next year, obviously getting the series out, the Grand Mesa Men series, is my main priority. That will trump everything else. And then I have a couple of other things I would love to get published, but we'll see. I want to get the Grand Mesa Men series out. I want to try some different methods of publishing. I'm really excited about it, and then we'll kind of go from there. So when you're laying out your publishing schedule, that's my biggest piece of advice, is if you're doing this as a mom, just consider, a new mom, consider those things. You know, consider the fact that, like, if you are pregnant and you're just starting, that next year is gonna be rough. And so I hope you can do it all. I could not. And so just give yourself some grace and then work that into your plan. I didn't work it into my plan. And so obviously I was disappointed in myself, and I was like, what the heck are you doing? You know, I spent a lot of time being very negative on myself, when in reality it was just like I was not in the mental headspace to be pursuing my business at that time. All of my focus was on my new baby and 2 kids and all of those things. And so, like I said, that's not interchangeable with miss a bunch of deadlines and just allow yourself all of these excuses. But just recognize that there are certain things that come up in life that are going to change you long term when you're planning. Another thing I brought up in the 2021 video was mini stories, and I didn't do that, but I would love to do it. I don't know that I will in 2024. Like I said, Grand Mesa Men series is my top priority, but that is definitely kind of like a next goal once that series gets out and gets published. Soul Jumper, my first book, it wraps up the story. It's not like a cliffhanger or anything, but there's so many avenues that this book could take, and I would love to do a series of mini stories about the other jumpers in this book, about Logan. If you read it, you know. And this book brings up like reincarnation and parallel universes and all of these things that I feel like a series of mini stories would be so fun. And it would be so fun to revisit this book and explore it in that way. And so that's definitely a goal. I don't know that it will happen in 2024. A lot of what I do this year is going to depend on that Grand Mesa Men series getting out and getting published. And that takes the priority spot. But that is something that I do see myself doing in the near future. I talked about merch in my 2021 video. I did say in that video it wasn't on my immediate radar, so I don't feel as bad about it. But it is still something I want to do, and it's something I want to explore. I have been researching like sites and places to do like the shipping for you, and kind of like Amazon does when they, you know, somebody orders my book, they print it, ship it, and I don't deal with any of that. I'd like to do that kind of that way for merchandise, but in the last year, I've kind of shifted more toward looking into some type of subscription box. I really love collaborating with people, and I would love to be able to do subscription boxes of some sort. I think seasonal ones would be so fun if you had like a winter, a fall, a spring, and a summer box. And I've already started talking to small business owners about doing this with me and doing this for me. And I love that idea. And so I think I'm gonna shift away from merch. Like, I don't really see the need for like traditional merch, like shirts and sweatshirts and coffee mugs. Like, I'm not saying that will never happen, but if I'm gonna sell something beyond selling my books, I want it to be intentional, and I want it to be something I'm passionate about, and I really love this idea of a very specific type of subscription box, seasonal box that people get, where I'm collaborating with other small business owners to put those together. And so that is a definite goal of mine. I'm going to keep reiterating that publishing my Ground Mason Men series is the top priority. But I do see that being a really big part of my 2024 as well, is these subscription boxes, as long as the stars align. And the business owners I've talked to are in and they're excited. And so I think that's a great sign. Audiobooks. That's an instance where I just need to do it. I just need to pull the plug. I'm definitely the person where I will research something to death. And I've looked at a lot of studios. I know who I want to go with. I listen to a lot of audiobooks, and it is such a different experience when it's like a movie, essentially. Like when you have multiple narrators and dual point of view, and the narrators are like really getting into their character, it's incredible. It is a great way to read a book. And I've listened to some audiobooks that it's like, okay, that was just okay. Like, it was a narrator, they did fine, you know? But I really want that kind of like full experience. And so I think that's kind of why it's taken me so long. I've been very nitpicky about it. But in reality, it's something I just need to say, okay, pull the plug, create audiobooks. It is something I want to do. So that'll be kind of something else I'm working towards this year. Okay, so money. I think I brought up money in 2021. It's in my notes, so I'm sure I did at some point. I was very focused back then on very specific numbers. You know, numbers, tracking numbers, all this stuff. I'm not as focused on that. Right now, what I'm focused on, and if I had to like say one thing about 2024, I'm focused on growth in all areas and aspects of my life. Individual growth, personal development growth, whatever, career growth, growth as a mom, growth as a wife, growth as a business owner, not only my business, but my business with my husband. I just want growth. I want to see change, and I don't necessarily need to be nitpicky about like, I want X amount of dollars, or I want this, or I want that. I'm less focused on that, and I'm more focused on, let's put in the work and see the growth that happens. And so that's what I've got to say about money at this point. We'll see where we end up at the end of the year. Marketing. I brought up marketing. I wrote down, it still sucks. It does still suck. It's not my favorite part of my job. I obviously love writing, and I like creating things for marketing purposes. Like, I really do enjoy using Canva and like coming up with designs and doing things like that. But I don't like the tedious aspect of marketing. I don't like trying to figure out trends and like what's gonna get the most views and when should I post. I don't like all those nitpicky parts. And for a while, I was working with somebody who was doing marketing for me, and that was phenomenal and it was fabulous. So I really hope in 2024 that's something I can continue doing. I put that on pause for a little bit just because I wasn't sure what I'm doing, where I'm going, what I want marketed, all of those things. But now that I have like a much more clear vision of what I want 2024 to look like, and I've planned out my publishing schedule and different things like that, I really do hope I can start working with her again. She was doing great, and kind of, I still would post things on my own, but she took a lot of that off my plate, and she also was very consistent, which I struggle with. And so I knew like, okay, even if I don't post anything, my marketing person is going to. And so I'd love to move more toward handing that type of thing over again. I mentioned in 2021 donation projects, and yeah, this will always be a part of me as a business owner. My actual thing is Chaos Publishing and Design, and that's like my business license. if you want to get technical. But it's always, since day one, I have always had a donation project tied to my book publications. Oftentimes it's focuses on domestic violence, and I will take, you know, a percentage of book sales and donate to different causes. When the book launches, and then sometimes I've done like promotional things where also that stuff gets donated. That's really important to me, and it's something I don't want to go away and I don't want to change. It's always going to be a part of my brand, and I think it's important because I want to help people find their confidence, and maybe they find that through my books, maybe they find it through my videos, or maybe they're somebody being affected by that donation, and that helps them build their confidence and find their own way. That's really important to me, and it's something, like I said, that'll always be a part of my brand and what I'm doing. My husband and I do that a lot as well, both just individually as people and with our other business, our trash company. We've kind of already made that part of our brand as well, and we did some fun stuff at Christmas and some fun giveaways and things like that, and so that's something I don't see going anywhere, and it's something else that I feel is really cool for people to know about when they purchase my books. You know, is it's double. You get a buck and you get a book, whatever one you order, and you're also, you know, a part of your money is going to something else. And so there's that. Subscriber goals, again, I put on here, you know, in 2021 I focused very much on the numbers, but in 2024 Shalana is focusing on growth. So I want to see growth in my social media, but I want it to be intentional growth. And I've thought a lot about this as well. You know, JF Penn has mentioned too, like, she's like, TikTok's not for her. She's like, I'm not a short video person. And so I'm not either. I like videos like this where I can sit down and talk. I like talking. I was the kid that got in trouble for talking all the time growing up. My focus is growth. I'm not going to focus on like, I want X amount of followers by the end of 2024. I just want to see growth in that aspect. My focus is going to be YouTube because I do better with longer videos. Like I said, I'm a talker. And whatever I post on TikTok, I post on TikTok. I'm not really too worried about that. Same thing with Facebook. It is what it is. And then my focus after YouTube will be Instagram. And so that's kind of what it's looking like right now. And I'm sure you'll see a lot of cross content, you know, Instagram and Facebook and TikTok. A lot of that will be related. Longer stuff obviously on YouTube. But my real goal is the growth, holding myself accountable, and then just that consistency where people can expect my videos and my things to go out on a certain day. That's my true goal, is the consistency and the growth. Okay, things I did not mention in 2021 but now are 3 years later something I really want to focus on, and things that have changed for me and stuff just that I've learned about. I have two of those. The top is to build community. And I've been looking into a lot of ways to do that. I've looked into Patreon, I've looked into Kickstarter. I do have a profile on Fiverr now for editing services. I've looked into doing like the episodes on Amazon, or I may do those through Patreon. So I'm still figuring all of that stuff out, but it's really important to me that I not only connect with my readers, but I connect with other writers, and then long term I want to connect readers with writers that they enjoy. You know, I really like what I see in the indie author community happening when connections are being built, and I think it's so cool. Like the conferences that already exist, and the workshops online that already happen. And so I want to be a part of that world. And so building community is something I didn't really talk about in 2021, but I'm definitely talking about it and focusing on it in 2024. This, not only I want to be a part of it, but I also want to be creating it, if that makes sense. And so I'm excited about that and excited to see where that takes me. The second goal is I want to move toward selling more direct and more like exclusive. My books will still eventually be wide, like they'll be on Amazon and like Apple Books and all the places you can buy books. But I really want to focus on doing like projects to where people backing them, if it's on Kickstarter or some other platform, you know, they're getting early access to my books and they get special perks if it's like a special cover or whatever the case may be, that then once the books go wide, nobody gets those things. And so I really like this idea of like making things special for readers that have been supporting me and then continue to support me, because I think that that's awesome. Like if you have been on this journey with me since I started writing Soul Jumper seriously in 2019, since I published it up to now, and you're still here, like I think that's cool. And it also kind of ties into building this community of where I want readers that continue to support me to have kind of those like special perks if they're on my Kickstarter or they're on my Patreon. And then you're buying from me directly, which is great for me. And it also, you know, just kind of helps make that connection as much as I can. And then going wide, you know, a few weeks later or a month later or whatever it is. But without the things. So if you get my book through, say, Kickstarter, for example, and it has the special edition cover for that project, when I launch the book wide, it will be a different cover. They won't get any of the extras. They'll just be buying the book off of Amazon, like anybody who goes and buys a book off Amazon. And so I kind of want to move toward that business model. If you follow JF Penn, she's clearly my idol. She follows that type of model. She's way more in it than I am and has a ton more books published. So I'm not on her level in any way, shape, or form. But I'm using her as a guide for where I hope to be and where I hope to end up. So if you followed me last year, I called it my me year. All year long, I said it was my me year, and that was the tag I used in social media, and I've written pretty extensively about it being my me year, and it was. It was a crappy year for writing, but it was a good year in terms of like refocusing myself and refocusing my life. And like I said, coming out of the postpartum fog and taking the time to really sit down and think about, what do I want? How am I going to get it? And it was a year about me figuring out what that was. And I'm very blessed and I'm very lucky because I have a husband who supports that and I have family who supports that. And so I was able to do a lot of things that some people are not able to do in order to figure those things out. And I will be, I'm always grateful for the support system that I have. And 2024 now is going to be taking that me year and growing. This is the year of growth. This is the growth year in all aspects. And I truly, truly hope that at the end of this year, when I look at this video, I don't even recognize myself. Like that's the level of growth I'm talking about. And I'm excited for it, and I know that this like adrenaline and this momentum isn't gonna carry me the entire 12 months. Like eventually this feeling will fade, but I truly, truly believe that if I keep reminding myself why I'm doing this and why it's important to me, that incredible things are gonna happen. And I think that for you as well. And so I wish you a happy new year. I wish you all of the best things, all of the blessings, every positive thing I can throw at you. I am throwing it, all the positive vibes, that you also get to the end of the year and meet all of your goals and just have this amazing year of growth. Because everyone I know had a kind of crappy 2023. It was a struggle for a lot of people. And so I really, really hope that we're at the top of the mountain now, all of us, and the sun is shining and like we're growing. Things are happening. Things are going to be amazing. And I wish that for all of you. As always, if you are in this business and you have advice for me, please send it my way. If you're new to this and you have questions, please also leave those in the comments or reach out to me. ShalenaBattles@gmail.com is my email. Or leave a comment on this video. And I'm always open to answering questions, to helping people in any way that I can. If you are looking for editing services or like a writing consultant, I have Fiverr. You can check me out on there, and I'd love to help you. I'm really, really, like I said, focusing on building community, and so please reach out if you're trying to figure things out for yourself and you don't know where to start. Because I've been down this rabbit hole for a while now. All right. I wish you guys all the best in 2024. Thank you so much. Like I said, if you are here for the first time or if you've been here since the beginning, I appreciate all the support, and have an amazing, amazing 2024.